Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the Samsung Galaxy Victory 4G LTE on Sprint. This is a $99, obviously, LTE smartphone, 4-inch display, a little bit less of everything than the Galaxy S3 gets you, but it's half the price. It's not bad. Qualcomm S4 dual-core CPU, NFC, Wi-Fi, all the usual goodies you'd expect on an Android smartphone. We're going to look at it now. The Samsung Galaxy Victory 4G LTE obviously is an LTE phone. Pretty much everything, in fact everything now coming out in Sprint that's a new model will have LTE 4G. 4-inch display, 800 by 480 resolution, which is pretty much these days considered a fairly mid-range resolution. It has a gloss plastic casing. You can see Samsung always loves gloss. On the side here you can see we've got our volume controls. We have our microSD card slot, a little pop open door, just stick it in right there. Gloss back, and here's your speaker grill right here, removable back, so you can get to the 2100 milliamp battery. Always nice to be able to replace that. And on the top we have our 3.5 millimeter mic headphone combo jack, power button right here, 5 megapixel camera on the rear with an LED flash. Again, this is a glossy back, but it has a little chin here, so it stops it from sliding out of your hand. It will pick up fingerprints. It's pretty easy to clean off. And on this side we actually have a dedicated camera button, which you don't see so often on phones. Nice touch. Front face is interesting because it has what looks like mechanical buttons at first. These are kind of plasticky looking things. You can hear it's capacitive though, because I'm driving it crazy by running my fingers over it right now. So your first urge is to press down hard. You don't have to. It's just like capacitive buttons on something that looks a little bit more delicately designed, shall we say. They work just fine. We've got home, back, and the menu key. This runs Android 4.04 Ice Cream Sandwich, and it has the latest Samsung TouchWiz UI on top, which means Samsung's usual user interface customizations and widgets has S-Voice too, so you get some of the goodies that you get on the Galaxy S3. A little dubious as to whether I call S-Voice really a goodie, given the fact there's a little bit hit or miss for voice recognition, but you've got it. And now we'll test it to see how it does. Hi Galaxy. What's my next appointment?
Unfortunately, I can't find anything that matches in your schedule.
She sounds a little depressed, doesn't she? But she's right, there is nothing in my schedule on this particular phone, so let's try something that she can actually do. Hi Galaxy. Open Gallery.
Opening gallery.
And there we go. That worked just fine. So that's S-Voice. The Galaxy's display is pretty bright, and you can see from the angle I'm holding it right now, viewing angles are not bad at all. Actually, non-IPS displays, certainly Samsung doesn't do those, but pretty good. Outdoors it is glossy. It does have a little difficulty combating bright sunlight. That's not unusual though for many smartphones. UI has the usual multi-page home screen, and you can press anywhere if you want to customize. Press and hold, and you can see I can create folders, I can get to apps and widgets and change my wallpaper, add a new page if I want to. And this is populated with the usual selection of Sprint widgets. We've got the weather widget here, we've got some Sprint stuff going on, we've got the media hub right there from Samsung, since this has all of Samsung's multimedia applications on board. It has a 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm S4 Snapdragon CPU. Again, 1.2 gigahertz, so it actually benchmarks pretty well. Not quite as fast as the 1.5 gigahertz Samsung Galaxy S3, but respectable. Certainly for a $99 phone, you're getting decent performance. On the Quadrant benchmark, it scored 4088. That's pretty respectable. The fastest phones will score around 5,000. Still, this is very good. On Antutu, 5712. GL benchmarks Egypt 2.1 classic test using GL benchmark 2.5, 60 frames per second, which is quite nice, 28 for off-screen, very competitive with today's fastest phones. And SunSpider was 2281, not a super compelling number, but within the range of average for today's higher-end smartphones. So again, you're getting pretty good performance. You're getting higher-end performance on a $99 mid-range price phone. Not so bad there. What concessions do you make? Well, it's a lot thicker than something like the Galaxy S3. Obviously it has a smaller display, but that can be good for some of you who have small hands or just really don't want a big phone. You get a 5 megapixel camera on the back instead of the fancy 8 megapixel shooter that you get on the highest end phones. And let's compare it to the Samsung Galaxy S3 so we can see what that looks like. Size-wise, obviously the Samsung Galaxy S3 is going to be a lot bigger than the Victory, but the real difference comes in the thickness. Look how much thinner the Samsung Galaxy S3 is here on the bottom compared to the Victory. As we take a look at the application launcher here, we can see the usual divide that Samsung uses. We have apps here, widgets here, and then anything we've downloaded as separately available, which makes it a little easier to find things, I have to say. Of course, when you choose apps, it means all apps and everything is there for you to look at. So in terms of pre-installed applications, of course, we have all the Google standard stuff. We've got Samsung's Media Hub, Samsung's nice little memo application on board, Samsung's own custom music player, which is a pretty nice music player in addition to Google Play Music. We have S-Suggest, which is just Samsung's way of suggesting applications that you should buy. And the Sprint stuff. We have Sprint's mobile hotspot, so you can use this as a mobile hotspot for your laptop or tablet. Sprint ID, should you want to jazz this up with some applications from Sprint ID packs and change the look a little bit. Sprint Zone's on board. Again, Samsung's own custom video player. And you can see we have Google Wallet here because this phone has NFC, so that's nice. Google Wallet, obviously still a hit or miss on a lot of phones, but Sprint is going with it for several of their phones. So for those of you who actually want to use NFC for payments and Google Wallet, it's a possibility. And we have a VPN client on board. At our widget selection, we've got quite a few different alarms to choose from. Calendar, bookmarks, Samsung's little customized calendar view that I happen to like a lot. Looks very nice. More clocks, contacts widget, email widgets, Gmail widgets, Google Plus widgets coming from Google, obviously. The Media Hub, a little memo widget, so that's handy if you want to be able to take a note quickly. You can have that as a widget on your screen. Picture frames, and S-Suggest. As you can see, we have a 4G symbol here. That means we're getting LTE. That just recently happened in our area of the Dallas Metroplex. Excellent that is. And you can see what our speed test results have been like on 3G and 4G. And there's a range of test values that we've gotten so far. Not so bad. Not as fast as AT&T and Verizon in our area, but still very compelling, and since it's just brand new, I expect it probably will get faster. Really excellent ping times there. And the slowest one was when we were far indoors. And notice that building penetration isn't the best on Sprint's LTE network, but still quite good, and that was with an iffy signal. The Victory has Samsung's usual large and easy to use dialer. You can see right here with shortcuts to your voicemail, favorites, contacts, call logs, keypad right here. Voice quality on this has been okay, not really stellar. A little bit staticky sometimes, not as super clear on the incoming end as I would like. Not a terrible phone, but not among the best. Outgoing calls have been good so far. Since this is a 4-inch display running at 800 by 480 resolution, things can feel a little bit cramped. You've got to do a little pinch zooming to read if you're looking at a full desktop site like ours. Scrolling is fairly smooth. Not super zippy though. It's funny, given the horsepower that this phone has, I'd like to see a little bit more speed. And we'll check out a video to see how it does with YouTube videos in the HTML5 format. And again, we're doing this over Sprint's 4G LTE network. Reasonable page load times. Text is reasonably sharp on this, not as super duper pinprick perfect as you'd find on the 1280 by 720 smartphones on the market, but I find it pretty readable and contrast is pretty good. We've got speaker volume up to about 3/4. Reasonably good. That's looking pretty good. Took a little bit longer to get up to speed, but good now. And then we've got it going in full screen mode. Obviously, it took a little longer to buffer up than I'd like to see, but again, just starting to get LTE here, I'm sure it's going to improve on Sprint. It looks pretty good, actually. So that's streaming video over LTE on Sprint's network on the Galaxy Victory. Given the pretty good CPU and Adreno 225 graphics that we've got on board, we're going to test out Dead Trigger. That's a pretty demanding 3D title for gaming. And here we are starting our first level where we get a little bit of tutorial action at the same time. So far it's playing pretty well. Frame rates are holding up. We don't get any of those fancy water effects we would on a Tegra 3, but that's not the phone's fault. That's just the fact that Tegra 3s get a little extra special treatment. Plays nicely. And now we'll test video playback. We're using Gallery, which is the standard Android media player. We have a 1080p MPEG-4 high-profile trailer. So it should be pretty demanding, and obviously it's higher resolution than the display itself, so probably you want to play something more along the lines of 720p to be practical. It's playing great though. Really not a bad looking display. For a $99 phone, it's pretty good. I'd say all in all, compared to the LG Viper 4G LTE, which was Sprint's first affordable LTE phone, this one is a lot stronger. The UI does get a little slow sometimes, don't know why that is, probably a little software, something going on there, but nice screen, good performance overall, good for gaming, reasonable voice quality, and good LTE. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Victory 4G LTE. It's available now on Sprint, $99, and if you're on a tight budget, it's certainly not a bad phone. It's good performance, it has LTE, actually we got good LTE speeds here in the Dallas area. But if you can spend a little bit more money, obviously the Galaxy S3 is going to get you some slimmer design, a bigger display, and faster performance even still. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.